this is Catherine O'Connell and welcome to Lawyer on Air. If you are looking for inspirational stories about women in law, then this is the podcast for you. Join me and my lawyer ladies as we enjoy a glass of wine after a hard day at work and talk about the world of women in law. It's my passion to share stories of amazing legal ladies who are working as in-house legal counsel, who have law firm roles, who are leading on boards, and who are doing law differently. From time to time, I will also invite special guests on the show to share their insights on legal recruiting and tips for getting hired as a successful lawyer in Japan. I hope you will enjoy getting to know these amazing women who I am so proud to share a profession with. I'm glad you're here and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Lawyer on Air. I'm the host of the show, Catherine O'Connell. Today I am joined by not one, but two guests. I've wanted to have Keiko Ohara on the show since we kicked off in March 2021, and I also wanted to have Junko Ohara on the show too. Keiko is mother to Junko, and they are a mum and daughter lawyer team in Tokyo. Both are working as mothers and working as lawyers in their respective firms. It was Junko who came up with the brilliant idea to have both mum and daughter on the show together, and so here we are. So I'm really excited to introduce you to both of them. Let me start with Keiko Ohara. Keiko Ohara is founder and partner at Kamiyacho International Law Office, where she has been for 22 years since the year 2000. Prior to that, she was in the Tokyo office of Komatsu, Koma Nishikawa, and at Weil Gotshal in New York in the early 90s. Keiko's firm focuses on representing foreign companies investing and doing business in Japan. She also assists Japanese companies doing business with foreign companies. She helps clients with general corporate matters, M&A, commercial contracts, employment matters, dispute resolution, regulatory, compliance, and corporate governance. Her firm's strength is in understanding the client's entire business process from various angles, and she provides advice and guidance that is able to increase corporate value as a whole, not just on resolving standalone issues. Her firm manages work in English and in Japanese, and with 5 attorneys, it's a smaller kind of office in Tokyo in the legal scene here, but I believe small is great. And in Keiko's case, her lawyers are all very experienced in representing international clients and working closely with clients, general counsel, and their business team members. Keiko's also very busy in her activities as outside independent director at 2 companies, Financial Products Group Co Limited and Fujikyuko Co Limited. And she's also an independent statutory auditor at Taisei Corporation and auditor at the NGO Save the Children in Japan. She's a fully business person with the bar activities as well, sitting on the Committee of Foreign Lawyers and International Legal Practice at the Japan Federation of Bar Associations, and she's on the Committee on Foreign Special Members and International Legal Practice at the Daiichi Tokyo Bar Association. That's the same bar association I'm a member at. Keiko qualified as a bengoshi, attorney at law in Japan in 1988, and as a New York State attorney at law in 1993. She has a BA in economics and an LLB in law from Keio University and achieved her LLM from Harvard Law School. Wow, moving over to Junko Ohara, she's also a Japanese lawyer, a bengoshi. She attended Keio University just like her mum. She got her LLB there, but then she did her JD at Hitotsubashi University Law School, followed by the Legal Research and Training Institution of the Supreme Court of Japan. After qualifying as a lawyer in 2017, she joined Freshfield's Tokyo office and is now working there as an associate. She's a member of the Global Transaction Team and specializes in general corporate work. In particular, she's involved in cross-border public and private M&A. Junko also advises on commercial and real estate transactions and helps international clients navigate and understand this Japanese market. She's also assisting clients on equity-based compensation schemes and compliance issues, including anti-bribery, sanctions, and data protection laws. Junko's got a strong interest in pro bono as well, and she's been a really active member in activities to protect children and LGBTQ rights in Japan. She's also a mother. Has a daughter and a dog. Both of them happen to be 1 year of age. And so, well, I can't wait to get started after those great introductions. Keiko and Junko, welcome to the show.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having us today. It was such a pleasure.
Thanks, Keiko.
I'm a big fan of your podcast, and I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for inviting us, Catherine.
Oh, thanks, Junko. And so if we were going to be meeting up in person, and I really think we need to do that to celebrate today, where would we go to? Would we go together somewhere to one of your favorite restaurants and bars or cafes, or would we go separately to different places?
Well, if I go first, if I have great company, I can be anywhere with a nice glass of Chardonnay, Oki Chardonnay.
Junko, how about you?
So my favorite restaurant is Bolt, Bolt, in Kagurazaka area. And it is a bistro and wine bar near Ushigome Kagurazaka station. And the dishes are so great. And they have a variety of glass wine. And I would choose cold glass of Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, and where's the Sauvignon Blanc from, Junko? No hinting that it could be a New Zealand one, of course.
Yes. The one I love is called Cloudy Bay.
Oh, yes.
Which is a New Zealand white wine, right?
Sure is. Premier wine from New Zealand. That's right. And so I've got another fun question for you both, which is, if you were an animal, so Junko, if your mum was an animal, what kind of animal would she be and why? And then I want to ask Keiko the same.
So this is a really interesting question. And I was thinking what kind of animal she is. And I would say she's like a tuna, like a big fish. And, tuna is constantly swimming. And if it stops swimming, then it will be suffocated and die. Ooh. And she's like a tuna and constantly moving forward, doing something, and likes keeping herself busy. So I would describe like she's like that.
That's fantastic. Wow.
That is an amazing answer.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
But I don't know if it's a compliment, though. Anyway,
but it's true, actually.
I mean, a fish in water is just so used to where they are in their environment. They go exploring, but they keep on going, right? New environments, new places to go. I love that.
Wow, that's amazing. But, I was trying to think of an animal for Junko, and I just kept thinking about being aggressive, active, positive, fun to be with, fearless, gutsy, rebellious, party person. I mean, what's that animal? I mean, I couldn't get the answer, so I'm sorry.
Like a tiger.
I failed this question.
No, I feel like a tiger. Like she's out there.
I was thinking about tiger, but
tiger.
I don't know if tiger likes to party. I wasn't sure. So.
Sure.
I don't know. That's not a compliment at all.
Oh, really? Okay, so we're even.
Partying, I think, in this case. Perhaps you mean social, like really social butterfly. Yeah.
Yeah. Social.
I'm like that person. Yeah.
He's very social.
Oh, very interesting. I'm often called a cheetah, which is like just fast, going for it. Hardly stops. So it's maybe like a tuna, but like a tuna. Wow. Okay, that's so cool. I just, at the beginning, I talked about your careers and everything, and I've spoken a lot about that. But I do have some follow-up questions, so I think it'd be good to get into those. So. Keiko, I've got to go to you first because, I wanted to know when you were young, maybe wanted to be a lawyer or not. When did that come up for you to be a lawyer? What did you want to be when you grow up?
Okay, so the biggest impact during my childhood was that I moved to LA when I was age 9. My father was transferred in his company to LA office, and I was there until 12 years old. And that was such a huge shock. I mean, I was in Japan the whole time. I didn't know the alphabet. I couldn't speak English, obviously. And I was just like put into a US school. And I felt like I'm a diplomat representing Japan without really having the command of English. But then, I met a lot of kind people. And at the time I was coming back, I thought, okay, I'm going to be engaged in work that bridges the communications between Japan and US and other foreign countries. So that was the angle I had. And I
love
was
it.
looking for a job that could fulfill that
Right.
sort of aspiration.
But your dad was not a lawyer?
No, he was a salaried worker for a Japanese company.
Wow. Age 9 would be really at the time where you can remember things so well, as you know, you're not young enough to sort of know you were in a foreign country, but at 9 you can really remember things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, what about you, Junko? Is there something from your childhood memory you can recall, maybe about your mum or growing up and seeing her as her tuna, you know, and out there fishing and doing things? What do you think?
I was interested in international job because since I was an elementary school kid, we went to a family trip to Europe and like Switzerland, France, Italy, Spain, and meeting with people there and absorbed in the completely different cultures and mindset were very, very interesting to me, and at the same time very inspiring to me. So those experiences made me think that I really want to work in an international environment. And my mother is an international lawyer, so that came to me that probably international lawyer would be also the way.
Right. So that was an influence on you, that you saw your mum carrying out her daily life as a lawyer, and that was an impact on you. What was it about that you thought? Is it just knowing that she did international work, or was there something that made you think about what your mum was doing and the way she was doing it that made you want to be a lawyer?
So I was constantly seeing her, speaking English and working as a lawyer and doing international work. I thought that that's really cool of my mom, speaking English and doing her job. But when I was a small kid, I wanted to become a cashier at the supermarket because it was just so looked cool to just pick the products up and scan the barcode. But after thinking of my career, around 11 or 12, I began to think that since both of my parents are lawyers, I would probably become one. And lawyers were almost the only sample around me. And when I was 12, we wrote an essay titled Diary of Myself in 20 Years. And I wrote that I would become an international lawyer and travel around the world. But at the time, I didn't really have a concrete image of what I would be in the future. But after joining law school and study law properly, I came to think that law is really interesting, and it is a really good weapon for women to have the specializes in law and can advise law to people, and we can actually help people. So I thought that the lawyer's career is really great. And that's why I'm now here now.
Fantastic. Hey, Keiko, did you know that Junko thought you were cool?
No, absolutely no. I thought she was critical of me because I was a tuna, not spending enough time at home and doing the things I'm supposed to do as a mom. So I'm very surprised, and I'm very nicely surprised.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? That's so good. Wow. And Keiko, you then, maybe influenced by what your dad had done, you decided to go to the States yourself after working in Japan. What led you to do that after working in the law firm in Tokyo for a while?
It was common at the time for Japanese lawyers working in Japanese international law firms to go to study abroad and go to a foreign law school for a year and then to work in a foreign law firm for a year. But what was not so common about me was that I was taking Junko, who was 1 year and 4 months. And at the time, I was still married. And so my ex-husband and Junko and I went to Boston when she was 1 year and 4 months. And it was very, very tough in that, she had to go to a daycare center from day one. So that was quite different from maybe at that time.
Sounds a little similar to you when you went and your dad had you in school and you didn't have any English. And I'm not sure, did Junko have any English at 1 year?
Yes, I was 1 year and 4 months, so I didn't really speak. But after spend a year, I come to speak English quite fluently.
Yeah.
But after coming back to Japan, and I all my life after that is in Japan. So my English language ability just disappeared. And my English now today is because of the Japanese English lessons and, from the teachers.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you do speak English, so don't run yourself down right there. So what happened there, Keiko? You went over to the States with your 1 year, 4-month-old daughter. I don't know how you did that. Maybe looking back, you wonder how you did it yourself. But what happened after that?
We went to the Harvard Law School, LLM for a year, and then to New York. And we were living in middle of like Midtown. I would be taking my Junko to the daycare center on Park Avenue and 6th, walking by Bulgari's and, Ferragamos and, those brand shops. And I worked at Weil Gotshal, which was, I think it was 59th or 60th, and right across the street from Central Park. So we had a great city life, but we were lucky to have a very nice babysitter. We enjoyed there. But it was quite an experience. It was great fun. Was it
just the 1 year you were there?
In New York, yes. 1 year in Boston, 1 year in New York.
Okay.
So it was a total of 2 years.
So during the New York time, is that when you took the New York bar?
Yes. I took the New York bar when I was in New York. I mean, right after I graduated from Harvard LLM, we took the bar, the New York bar. Everybody took the New York bar at that time.
Right. Okay. And so then you came back to Japan, Keiko. Did you set up your own firm then straight away?
No. I went back to the previous firm, and I became a partner.
Yes.
Junior partner.
Right.
And then in like 7 years, I left the previous firm and formed my own firm.
Right. And so what led you to be your own boss?
Several things. I was a junior partner in my previous firm, but you're not a senior partner, so you don't get to really decide on the management decisions. And then at the same time, not an associate. So, associates treat you like you're a partner. So it was sort of like being in the middle. So it wasn't that easy. So I thought, okay, why don't I just jump off the cliff and open my own firm and decide the things I want to decide on, which was a very brave, I think, courageous thing to do looking back, because I opened my law firm in 2000 and Junko was like, I think fourth grade. And then my son was like 2 years old. And then I got divorced at the end of the year 2000. So everything was like happening and busy that time. And I had to run my new office, plan and get clients and work and, borrow money and all that kind of stuff going on at the same time that I had to take care of a toddler and take care of Junko and, everything else. So I don't know how I did it, but, I'm glad I did it. And thanks to my mother and my parents who were helping out a lot, it was a very busy time.
It's a lot. And does it mean that now you've done that, nothing else after that is a challenge, as much as a challenge as it was then? You've gone through into the deep end?
Emotionally, it was a very tough time. I don't know. I did my best, but maybe looking from outside, maybe it was far from being satisfactory. But I think emotionally, it was the toughest time.
Yeah. Junko, observing your mum then, can you recall anything? How did it feel when you heard she was going to go set up her own business? Anything you want to say to her?
At the time, I was 10 or 11, and I didn't really understand what it is like to run her own business. And I knew that she had been constantly busy, and probably she will be after setting up her own firm. So for me, it doesn't seem different to me, actually. Probably she's under a lot of pressure at the time, but she was probably hiding very well. And she didn't show she's really, really stressed at the time.
So there you go. I mean, Keiko, it felt like that internally, but externally it actually wasn't that obvious, or you managed to, cope quite well there. And it's interesting that Junko's at the same age that you were roundabout when you went to America with your dad. So it's a time when you do actually remember in your life I think, things that
True,
went on.
true.
Yeah. Keiko, if you could go back and think about yourself when you were younger, is there anything you would change or do differently or tell yourself in that sort of younger age group?
Yeah, I talk about this a lot with Junko. I was the only daughter of my parents. And my mother was an English teacher, but she left work and she was a stay-home mom. So my parents took good care of me, and they were very strict. They had rules. So it was a different time, you know. So I had to come home by a certain hour. I couldn't sleep over. All these rules, right? So if I go out with a boy, they were like, I have to come home early. Things like that. I think you'll think that it's like ages ago, but I'm still alive. So it's not that long ago. Anyway, so I wish I had been more rebellious. Maybe not. That's not the right word, but maybe
not climbing out the window to go and see some guys. But
I was pretty obedient.
Yeah.
So I wish I was more
Unlike
adventurous. Yes, we talk about that a lot because my mother, who is the one who brought me up, is used. My Junko tells me that she is so used to you, Mom, being so obedient that, you know, I'm being kind of like looked at like a very bad daughter by not complying with all the rules that she'd like to set up, that I'd like to set up as well. So,
Junko.
Yes, indeed. So she was a good girl for my grandmother. And, you know, because both of my parents are working, I was basically raised by my grandmother and grandfather. And they are so strict, and they just put all the rules that they did for my mother. And as she mentioned, like, we cannot sleep over, and, you know, everything was quite restricted. And I was pretty rebellious, actually. And so I had lots of fight with my grandparents and my mother about that. And I was so sick and tired of all the rules. So that was pretty tough time because, you know, for my grandmother, me is like a baby sister to Keiko. So she would like to raise as she did for my mother. And it was a really high expectation for me, and maybe too much. So because the personality is so different from me and my mother, I really wanted my grandmother to understand that I'm a different person from Keiko.
yeah, I used to get calls at the office from my mother. So, like, Junko is doing this. What are we going to do about this? You know, so that happened once in a while.
Oh, but Keiko, are you sort of a little bit more lenient though? It sounds like maybe you may have been and didn't want quite the same for Junko as you had.
Well, I think that's probably the wise, something a wise person would do. but you have to understand, I mean, I was worried about Junko a lot because I wasn't home all the time. And also I was relying on my mother to be the person to take care of her during the day. So I thought that I should respect her style because she is the babysitter, sort of, right? So, I mean, I don't tell her to do things when she's taking care of my daughter, right? So I did have some, I don't know, the Indio, like, you know, I was like reserved to my mother for taking her style, right? So sorry about that.
Actually, it was a lot of pressure at the time. And, you know, all my families had a high expectation on me. They wanted me to be a good girl and become a lawyer, just like them. And I hated that so much. And when I was in law school, I actually escaped from my home without a mobile phone. I just couldn't stay in my home. And after that, I moved to a place I moved to an apartment by myself. I lived by myself for a couple of years because, you know, at the time I didn't have qualification. I didn't pass the bar exam and I had no guarantee in the future. So there was no, you know, room for me in my heart at the time. And there was a constant pressure from my family, I felt. So I couldn't stay in the family's home. But now I'm really grateful that I have this kind of, environment. And I'm really, truly, truly grateful for that.
Yeah. And I'm very surprised to hear that Junko was under so much pressure because, I don't regard myself as like a smartest lawyer or anything like that. And I had trouble passing the bar and I could understand her struggle. So I wanted her to pass the bar, but I didn't understand that having a lawyer who passed the bar and, doing well in work is itself a pressure to her. So that I didn't realize until now.
So what's the important thing you learned from all that, Junko, then? Going through that, and now you are a mum. So tell me about that.
Yeah, now I have a 1-year-old baby and we do similar kind of work. And she's also a good mentor for me. And as a mother of young child myself now, I understand how hard it was to raise kids and have a career and, balancing the work and life. So I think that we are all struggled at the time, but I can now understand their struggle and, my mother's struggle. And I feel guilty when I go back home or when I leave home to, see my baby off. To summarize, I'm truly grateful for my mother's.
It's lovely because we're on screen. We're not going to be on screen for this, but just seeing the reactions between you both is really delightful. And I'm sure it's bringing up some memories and also, closing off some that you didn't know about before. Keiko, anything you wanted to add?
No. I just realized what I learned is by bringing up Junko and my son is that, when I was a child, I thought my mother was like a complete grown up, like a big wall and, making decisions that probably are right. But then when I became a mother, I'm like so immature, trial and error, and I make mistakes and I don't know what to do. And I have my, my personal feelings, my life. So everything was so undecided and it was trial and error. So I think when Junko felt that I'm a pressure or I'm like, all established and everything, it wasn't at all. And I think Junko will experience that when she brings up her daughter. And and that's what I learned.
We don't know until we look back and we connect the dots then, right? In the time, we don't know. So how then, Keiko, have those sorts of traits or personalities or strengths now work through to help you in the kind of work that you do? Endurance and all the other things that you are doing, how are they helping you now in your work and to be successful in your life right now? Have they continued through or has anything changed there?
I became independent. I opened my own firm pretty early on. I mean, not that early, but, after 12 years of experience. So I had to be on my own, represent clients. I'm the representative of the firm. So I felt very responsible, but then I was also very responsible for my kids, right? Yeah. I had to bring in money. I had to take care of them. I had to send them to school, good schools. I mean, all that responsibility made me maybe a severe management person. So I think I was pretty aggressive about the way I do my work and deal with clients because I am sacrificing my precious time that I can do otherwise. Many things I could do other than work. So I have to be serious. Clients have to be serious. That's the way I felt about my work. And also the second thing is I felt like I've been a minority as a small child. When I went to LA, I was the only Japanese in class. Even after coming back to Japan, my father was transferred a lot to different places in Japan. So I was always the new kid in the school or new kid in class. So I always had to mingle into the pre-existing groups of friends. So I feel like I've been a minority. And being a woman, in a, law school or law firm. It was minority. So I'm used to it. So I'm not that reserved. I say what I think. At the end of the day, what I'm going to lose, right? Yeah. So that's the attitude I had.
Great.
And that helped me.
Right, Junko. Is any of that new for you?
It is actually. I didn't know that your work attitude is influenced by you are sacrificing your time, probably family time. And it is really inspiring, actually. I feel like the same way because, at the end of the day, we all have 24 hours a day. And so we need to prioritize work and family time and others. And it is so important to have a control over your life. And yes, it's inspiring.
Wow. And so, Junko, for you, what would be the biggest challenge in your work right now, without going into big details, and also the things that you think are necessary for a lawyer to be able to do their kind of work? After hearing your mum, what do you think?
So, as I said, balancing work and family time is a bit challenging to me because our head office is in London and we have lots of European deals. So our clients are mostly located in European countries. And because of that, time difference between Japan and Europe, work generally, get busy after 5 p.m. in Japan. And those time is a core hour for taking care of the kids. And that is really challenging for me. But our firm is so supportive. And I now have arranged that, between 5:30 to 9:30, I can fully concentrate on not taking care of my kids and coming back to work after 9:30. And that flexibility I really appreciate. But come to think of how I, pursue like a partner track, or, if I want to become a partner, I would have to adjust these timelines, and I have to think about how to not decreasing the working time compared to other lawyers.
Right. And how did you negotiate that 5:30, 9:30 time frame? Did others do it as well, or did you just manage to have some bravery and ask for that? Tell me about that.
Our Tokyo office is relatively small, and our team is really open for communication. So when I came back from maternity leave, I had a discussion with partners. And at first, we had a fixed time arrangement. So I don't have to work after 5:30. So that was the original fixed time arrangement. But that didn't actually work because of the reason I described before. And so I need to be back online after 9:30 for many days. So I came back to full-time associate. But I wanted to continue taking care of my kids at least for the few hours in the evening. Yeah. So I had a discussion with partners, and they are welcoming me for talking this kind of conversation. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Are you one of the few associates who has had maternity leave and come back?
Actually, yes. So in my team, I'm the only female associate who has a kid. And all other lawyers are male without kids.
Right.
And so that's a bit challenging for me, but all people are so supportive and they can cover during my absence. So yeah, I'm very comfortable.
I hope you're a role model for others in the future too, to be able to do exactly what you've done. I mean, you've gone out, come back. When you came back from maternity leave, it didn't quite work. So you came up with another idea and it's working nicely now. That's really very, very interesting. Keiko, anything like that happen to you? Or how does it sound to know how Junko's doing the arrangement of her work? It must be pretty much something that you might be proud of. Tell me what you think about that and arranging life, and how you do that now for yourself, because you are involved in many other activities outside of the office, quite a lot. So I'm not sure how you're managing your time. How are you doing all of that?
As for Junko, I had a lot of help from my mother, who was a stay-home mom. So I feel kind of bad that I can't be the same as what my mother was to me. But I think in this time period, I think all mothers are working. So I think this is what you have to face. So I think Junko is doing a good job and I support her and I'd like to as much as possible. So that's how I feel about it. And about me, now that Junko is a grown up, she's on her own and my son is already working. So I have more time now than I used to be busy with all the other work. So I can do all the other activities, which is great. I'm learning new things every time and I get to meet a lot of people. It's a great experience. And maybe I should mention about the other activities right now.
Yes, please do, because I did want everyone to hear a little bit more about that. You've got these 2 director roles, but also 2 auditor roles, and that's pretty busy, as well as all your bar activities. Why do you do these, and why are they so important to you?
So I'll first talk about the bar activities.
Yes.
I wasn't at all interested in bar activities. I had no intention of doing it. But then somebody, maybe it was a partner, somebody that I knew who was senior to me, like just invited me over that they should, participate. And that was the start. And once you get in, you can never get out, sort of.
California.
Yes. But then I am very thankful that I did the bar activities because it's so important for lawyers, even if you're in a big law firm. It's to that extent. It's not like a, Mitsubishi Corporation. It's a small organization, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you should go out to bar association, discuss, what lawyers are, what lawyers' roles are, what your worries are with your peers that are not in your firm. They can inspire you, and there's lots of things you learn from bar activities. Mm. And especially the work I did had to deal with comparing like the legal system of Japan and other countries. I thought I had to think and learn a lot about the core values of a lawyer, which really helped me in my being a lawyer myself in the daily practice, because I learned that independence is the core, most important value of a lawyer. You don't give in to power or, favors, money, your interest, any other interest than the client. That is the core value of an attorney. So that's why attorney system is universal. Now, those are the things that I would not have even thought about if I had practiced just, my daily work. So I'm very thankful for that. And thankful to all the peers that were there to help me understand and also discuss all these issues. And then secondly, about the outside directorship and auditor, that is also something I wasn't that much, intending to go into, but there was some introduction. I started with one company and it was an eye-opening experience that it was completely a different atmosphere in being sitting in the boardroom. You're not an outside attorney, just giving some opinions from outside, but you're within the organization making decisions with all these business conditions and shareholders, activists, and employees. I mean, everybody talks about stakeholders, but worrying about all these stakeholders is the most difficult thing to do, right? So, and also, secondly, it was sort hard to speak up at the board meetings. Like I was bragging about being independent and, I'm not reserved and all that. But I sat on the board and I'm like, should I say this or should I just keep quiet? That was like the beginning of my, experience as a board member. And I learned how to not to be too inquisitive or not understanding the background of how this agenda came up. I need to be more understanding and careful about what I say at these meetings. So that has helped me a lot to learn more about inside of the client. You know what I mean?
I do, yeah. I mean, and also that balance you're saying between not being too inquisitive, yet still being able to ask the right questions to help the business and help those stakeholders.
Absolutely. But the way to help is the most difficult. The way you help the company, how do you do it, is the most difficult question that I need to answer. Right?
And did one of those outside director roles then lead to the next director role and the statutory auditor and auditor roles, or were they sort of coming at different times of your life when you were open for them? How did they all sort of come together for you?
Oh, so it was an introduction. One brings another. So like, oh, she's on the board. Maybe she's interested in doing our company or something like that. So it does, one leads to another kind of situation.
Right. And being so busy though, how do you keep yourself organized? Are there any kind of tools that you use in your business to keep you on track? Like, do you use Slack, or do you use some other kind of tech tool, or other kind of even practical paper-based tool to help you keep on top of all of these things?
Right. You can see that I'm not a very well organized person with papers, but I can say I'm not a high tech person. Of course, I use the computer. I mean, I do use the computers and online meetings and all that, but we have the greatest assistant secretary in our office. They're like the most precious, I shouldn't say a tool, but they are amazing people that we have in our firm. That's been a great help to me. And I've been working with them for like more than 20 years. So they know.
Right. They know you, and they can almost see what you're about to say or about to do, and predict what's coming.
Yes.
It's great when you've got people like that. And how about for you, Junko, in your busy office? Do you have someone who helps you, or other things that you have as a hack to your busy daily life?
Basically, I work from home right now, so that I don't have to commute. I don't have to do makeups. And, that can save quite a lot of time. So that's why I like working from home, because I have time restrictions. And the other hack may be hire person for do the housework, or, taking care of the kids. For example, babysitter. And we also asked someone to come to our house once a week. Today is actually the day. She cooked various meals for us for a week, so that I don't have to cook, and I just microwaving those foods in lunch and dinner. So that's saved a lot of time of us. And those kind of, we have a lot of various services available for working moms and working families. So I would recommend that maybe try these services.
That's so great. I mean, I cook all my meals on a Sunday for the week.
Oh my God.
It's the only claim to fame I've got on being organized, but it is so good because I know what's there. And when I go to prep it, it's all sort of ready, and it's really a reheating or a putting together of several things to make the dish. And it just makes so much of a difference to be organized on food. Yes, it's a lot of work to do on a Sunday, but I get up pretty early and do that. And then it's done by sort of done by 1 p.m. And it's a lot of work. And then after that, I'll switch off that. Everything's in the fridge waiting for the week. So today I know what I'm having for lunch and dinner in the week, right? So it's something I never did before until January 2021. I got myself organized. So for the last year and a half, I've been organized in the food business. So I recommend that. My goodness, that's interesting. Gosh, if you could do something completely different though, Junko, if you were not a lawyer, like you could start your own business doing something, what would that be?
Because I'm keen to protect children's rights and LGBTQ rights, I would like to involve in an NGO and coming up of a new business or new initiatives, and those kind of work I'm very, very interested in.
Yeah, that's really good. And your mom, Keiko is doing the NGO for Save the Children. Keiko, for you, you also mentioned if you weren't working, there'd be so many other things you'd love to do, right? If we weren't working, there'd be a lot of things we could do. How about yourself?
I mean, if I was able to do another profession now, I'd like to become a musician. I want to play the piano, learn that. I mean, I used to take lessons, so I want to go back and if I could. But I mean, that's something would be interesting to do.
It's very interesting. My accountant has a piano studio in her office, and her sister teaches piano there.
Oh.
And I think in her free time, she also just slips into the room and has that kind of practice session as well. So maybe that's something to do. Very interesting. Let's switch then to talking about the future of law from both of your perspectives. So Keiko, what sort of ideas and thoughts or visions do you have for what's coming up in the field of law right now? There's lots of things happening out there, things that boards are thinking about. But what about from your perspective in the next 3-5 years or so? What do you see happening?
I don't have that much confidence in that, envisioning what's going to happen in 35 years for a lawyer's job. But I'm feeling that, a lot of the sort of the work, certain areas of work will probably be taken over by an AI, right? So, they can probably do a better job picking up certain issues and words and stuff like that. But more and more so, people need advice from trusted lawyer, someone who can really trust and you can talk to from your heart. And that would be maybe in the context of just, daily legal advice or dispute settings. And AI cannot do that because you have to be convinced that you're making the right decisions and you trust the person that's advising you. So I think more and more so the lawyers are going to be asked to have the skills of talking to people, persuading people, understanding how they feel, and giving the right advice. So that's a skill that is very difficult to develop, but I think that's going to become more and more important.
Yeah, so true. That's something that AI, I can't see it happening. Maybe someone can invent a robot that does that, but I can't imagine that because that's why we're humans. And I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Trusted Advisor. It's a book about lawyers being trusted advisors, and it talks about this. These are the kinds of skills that just won't be taken away. Where do you find that human heart, that experience, the feelings? Those are really important things, and you need those, don't you, for talking with clients, holding their hand. Sometimes it may not even be legal advice. It's just making them feel okay and safe to do the next step. Junko, I'm interested to hear what you think too about this.
I think the flexibility is really, really important in the future because the world is rapidly changing every day. And for example, Russian invasion and new legal issues comes up every day. So we need to be very flexible in terms of new areas of law. And for example, sanctions and, distressed M&A, for example. So we need to be keen to the changes, social changes, and to be able to accommodate those new changes and can be specializes in those kind of skill is really necessary, I think.
Yeah, I think this might be related to that, but if you could move out any kind of barrier or restraint from a legal project that you're doing, what would you want to be known for as your contribution to that project?
I would like them to remember me as a trusted advisor. Oh, she can be trusted. She's worth trusting. And if new issues comes up, then okay, let's talk to Junko. And those kind of lawyer I wanted to be.
Yeah, I love that. Keiko, how about for you?
I agree with her completely.
Yeah.
So I want the clients to think that I can trust her. And I can trust the advice she gives because she's thinking about me as a client first and nothing else.
Even though you've got other clients, right? That person, that particular client thinks that you are just thinking about them in that moment, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you have 100,000 clients, if you're working on one client, that's your client. So, just do the best for that. So,
yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean that you're going to be nice to them or give them the advice they like, but what's really good for them, think hard about that.
Yeah. Well, Keiko and Junko, anything today that we didn't cover that you really wanted to talk about that we didn't mention, or something else you did mention that you'd like to elaborate on?
I think we talked a lot about this.
Is there anything then, Keiko, that Junko said about you or vice versa that, you heard that you hadn't heard before that surprised you today? Something you've learned from today?
Yeah, I didn't know she thought I was cool.
Yeah, there you go. You need a badge, mate. I'm cool. Junko told me.
I'm a cool mom.
I'm a cool mom, yeah.
Yeah, for me, we talked a lot. Like we constantly talking like every week and catching up with each other. But speaking with, Catherine, you today, it is really interesting. And at the same time, I didn't know what she thought at that time. So it is cool. This whole, podcast is so cool.
Thank you for your really super idea then today to bring us all together. So let's wind down then with the fun questions at the end, which I hope you'll really like. And the first one is, if you won 1 million yen today, what would you spend it on tomorrow? What would you do with it, Junko?
I would use it to an expensive family trip to Maldives.
Nice. Have some relaxation.
Yes.
Maldives, nice. Keiko, what would you do?
I would invite my relatives that I have met for a while, and all of them for a nice dinner together for a memorable evening. Because we hadn't had a chance to talk to these people.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? That's wonderful. If you could live anywhere in the world then, Keiko, where would it be?
Lugano, Switzerland.
Switzerland. Why is that?
We go there a lot during the summer. It's a beautiful city. It's just very small, quiet, but lots of good food and nice lake and not too hot. It's sunny. Maybe not during the winter, but just during the summer.
During the summer. Yes. Junko, how about you?
I would love to live in Brazil or Chile or other Latino countries. I've never been there actually, but I like the Latino vibes. And I really want to spend time there.
Whoa, Keiko, what do you think?
I didn't know that. So I just learned today that she wanted to move to Brazil.
There you go. Branch offers about to happen. Who knows? Keiko, if you could write a book tomorrow, what would you write a book about? Do you want to write a book, actually?
I'm not sure. Maybe when I'm 80 years old, I should divulge everything about what happened in my life.
Okay.
But not yet.
It's sort of like a biography, autobiography.
Yes.
Oh, or memoir.
Yeah.
Junko, what about you? Or if there was something out there that talked about Junko, what would it be that they talked about from your perspective? I know it's hard talking about yourself.
Yeah, I would say that I like to write a novel if I were asked. And, I'm a 6-year associate, and, as a professionally and, personally, I don't have much experience and I don't have much to write. I'm in an early stage of my life. So I would say I would write a criminal novel or yes, I like criminal novels and, mysteries, and I would do that.
Right. Is there any book that you can recommend that you've read that's on that topic or any other topic? What could be a podcast you've listened to that you'd like to recommend?
I recently like reading, not a novel, but my favorite one is Becoming by Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
That was pretty inspiring. She herself was a lawyer, and she, after married to Barack, she did several community works, and that is pretty inspiring to me. So I really recommend that book.
Yeah, it's amazing that I've read the book and she goes out and finds those community activities to do. I mean, she could have just stopped and thought, I'm married to this guy and he's going to be president, and just not done that. But she kept going.
Yes.
Right, and did those activities. Yeah. Keiko, is there anything that you've got in your reading or podcast or movie that you've seen that you really recommend others to have a look at or read or listen to?
Regarding podcast, I listen to, because I do outside director work, Boardroom Governance with Ivan Epstein. That's really fun to hear because it's usually focuses on, governance experts. And it's kind of nice to listen to because I'm interested in board governance.
Yeah, I just downloaded that.
And the book that maybe I read twice or 3 times is recently Viktor Frankl. And this is a very serious book, Man's Search for a Living. But it was kind of an eye-opener for me because it tells you that don't expect things in your life. Your obligation is to think about what life expects of you. So you can be lucky, you can be unlucky. I mean, you can be very different conditions, everybody in the world, but you don't envy other people or whatever. But what can you do given your conditions? What are you supposed to do?
Isn't
How
that
in your
the
life?
book? Didn't he write that after having been
In
interned?
the Auschwitz, right? Yes.
I read about that book in the weekend we've just had. I can't believe that you've brought that book up,
Really?
because
Oh, wow.
that's the one I want to go and read, because he talks
Yeah.
about meaning of life, not about
Uh-huh.
happiness, right? About
No.
things that happen to you in your life and what they can do to bring you meaning. And that
Right.
meaning is much more long-term than happiness, which is really just in the moment.
Right.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that book. That's the one I've actually got ready to order.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I listen to the audio books sometimes. It's fun. And
yeah.
my favorite is Oscar Wilde, Importance of Being Earnest. That's the funniest play.
Oh,
It's really fun.
I have to admit to not having listened to that. I will have to do
it's
that. Well, is there someone famous then, Junko, who you would like to meet or have already met in your past?
Maybe you will laugh, but I would love to meet Britney Spears and congratulate her on her wedding.
Yeah, that's what I was not expecting, but that's great. Congratulate her on her wedding.
I was a big fan of Britney.
Right, when you're growing up.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, when I was high school kid.
High school kid, yeah?
Yeah.
She was a bit rebellious too. Is that where you got it from?
Lots of stuff happening.
Interesting.
Yes.
Keiko, how about you? Anyone famous you'd like to see or have already met? Because you are a celeb in yourself, actually. So maybe you've met a few people along the way.
No. I think this would be a very unexpected answer, but I'd like to sit down all day and talking to my late grandfather because I respect him a lot. He's my mother's father. Since I was still very young, I didn't get to talk to him about his life, his values, and his way of living. And I wish I could do that now.
Oh, I love that.
What a good answer.
I know. Yeah. See the difference between Junko and me? Britney Spears and my late grandfather.
All right. That's amazing. And so, Keiko, something about you that nobody knows. Well, not a lot of people know, and maybe Junko doesn't know something about you. We've already heard a few things today.
I'm timid and shy, and people go, "Oh, really?"
Okay. Junko, you?
Okay. So I could drink 15 shots of tequila one night.
Oh, no. Oh, no. My son had 8 shots of tequila last week, and he was like dead.
Well, your Junko seems to be stronger.
Oh, much stronger. She has the genes.
The older sister's much stronger. Wow. Goodness me. And just a bonus question at the end here, Keiko, something that you are now very deeply grateful for.
I'm very grateful for my husband. He's also a lawyer and very busy for work, but he's fully committed to taking care of my kids. So I'm very thankful for him. And without his support, I cannot be here today.
Oh, I'm thankful. I mean, similar, but I'm thankful to all the people that have supported me throughout my life. My parents, my grandparents, my children, and friends, people that I have just run into in my life that have given me all sorts of precious things that form me. So that's what I'm thankful for.
Wow, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Keiko and Junko, for today. We've come to the end of our chat. It's gone so fast, but you've really been brilliant and brave to come on as our first mother and daughter lawyer team. Yay, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you both.
Yeah, thank you. So it was fun.
Yeah, it was very much fun.
Do we know any other mother-daughter teams around Tokyo who are lawyers? We have to think. There might be some other combinations.
I'm sure there are.
There might be. We just don't know. I know there's a father-daughter team at MoFo, which is not a well-known story, but that exists. But you've been so great today sharing your inspirational stories and ideas and tips for lawyers, and just, the way you're leading your careers and your lives has been very inspirational. And to listen to you, it's really been I hope very motivating for people who are listening into the podcast. It was so great to connect with you both in this way. And how can listeners get in touch with you or keep in touch with you? Can they do that through maybe your work email or through LinkedIn, for example? What would be the best?
I think for me, LinkedIn is probably good.
Okay, Keiko's LinkedIn.
I have a LinkedIn account and Facebook and Instagram, and I think our firm's website has my email address as well.
Right.
So please feel free to reach out to me with any means.
I'll have to get on Instagram and start following you there as well. Well, thank you so much. We'll put all of that into the show notes. And so we'll finish up here. Thank you very much for my listeners who are listening in today. Please do like this episode and subscribe to Lawyer on Air so it can be heard and seen by more people out there. You can go onto my webpage as well and leave a voicemail. And I really love it when people get on there and record a 1-minute voicemail telling me what they liked about the episode. We have lots of men who've done that so far. So I'm waiting for the first female to get on there and tell me what they think in their own voice. So please go ahead, share this episode with anybody you think will be inspired to be a lawyer extraordinaire, just like these two lovely ladies today. Thanks, everyone. That's all for now. See you on the next episode. Cheers, kampai, and bye for now. Thank you so much for listening today to this episode of Lawyer on Air. I really hope that you were inspired by the story you heard and that you discovered something new about women in the law. Please subscribe to the show so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you can think of even just one person to share this episode with, that would make my day. I invite you to connect with me to talk more. Jump on over to LinkedIn or Instagram where you can find me, or send me a message via my website contact page. That's all from me today. I look forward to seeing you right here on the next episode of Lawyer on Air. Cheers, kampai, and bye for now.